So we're recording this in late April, but it's been quite a start through these first 16 games. I've been following, and I was looking this morning, saw that y'all got the W last night in Chattanooga to move to 11-5 to start the year. Been a hot start for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, I guess in recent years, and this isn't a good thing, but in recent years, we're part of many teams within the White Sox farm system, and certainly have had our struggles. Yet at the same time, I think this year there's other teams within the system that, and certainly the big league level, have had their issues on the field. Birmingham, we've been fortunate to have, to accommodate, some of the bigger prospects for the White Sox, and really sort of is the shining star within the organization and for the fan base. So we're excited about this start. It's obviously a long season. The oldest saying in baseball is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And so, just not even a month into the season, we'll take it. We're excited. We'd love for our fans to enjoy the fun, exciting play on the field and have some wins along the way. But again, we'll also temper the expectations and know that we've got a long journey in front of us, but hopefully we can continue it and make it more fun as we progress throughout the season.
Yeah. And so through those first 16, I mean, you guys, I look at the pitching, looks like it's done really well, but who are some guys this year so far, in the minor leagues, these are guys that are on your team right now that maybe in a few months might not be. Who are some guys that are kind of standing out so far?
Well, that's sort of the nature of the business. Obviously, when they come into from spring training every year, I always tell the team and speak to them and tell them that we want them to enjoy their experience in the Magic City, want them to enjoy their time in Birmingham, and ultimately we want them to continue to progress and get to higher levels, whether it be AAA and ultimately the big leagues in the south side of Chicago. But some of the guys that, obviously we've had a great balance of pitching and hitting. And it's really a combination of both ingrown, prospects drafted by the White Sox and then also acquired in the offseason trades as well. One notably with the Padres. I mean, our top two starting pitchers, Iriarte and Thorpe, are acquired in the Dylan Cease trade. But some of the good thing is where our team is right now is that there's really not an urgent need to progress the players and get them to higher levels to get them ready for big league play. I think this is a transitional year overall for the White Sox, especially at the big league level. But some of the players that I would keep an eye on moving forward, Tim Elko, our first baseman, obviously, he's almost a legend, if not a legend, at Ole Miss because he was the captain of their national championship team. Brian Ramos, he started out of the gate a little bit slow this year, but at the same time, I know that he is very highly regarded in baseball circles. Our third baseman, Brooks Baldwin, who is our shortstop, really has come along and I think has raised some eyebrows along the way. And I think that, continuing to, you can go through the entire roster, but I think overall, and Edgar Quero too, a guy that was acquired last year in the Lucas Giolito deal with the California Angels. I know that he has really gotten out of the gate. He is really a great defensive catcher, but really gotten out of the gate offensive wise. I mean, he hit a walk-off 3-run home run for Game 2 to sweep the doubleheader on Sunday. So it was, so far a really good start. We'll take it, and hopefully we can continue the magic here at Regions Field.
Yeah, I was looking off this way because I was looking at some of those stats on my other screen, and just I mean, you mentioned Edgar Caro, the catcher, 20 RBIs in 16 games. I mean, 20 RBIs and 47 at bats. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I
And
mean
then
he started. I mean, he was assigned here last year. He played with Rocket City then he was traded. But really excited and to see where he is going to continue to progress.
yeah, and then I mean, obviously Thorpe. I mean, it seems like it's been a whirlwind couple years for him since getting drafted. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was a Yankees draft pick, and then was part of the Juan Soto deal,
Mm-hmm.
and then in December, I guess it was part of, as you mentioned, that Dylan Cease trade. So he's kind of bounced around, and it seems like he's found himself a little bit of a home.
Yeah, and I told some of our staff people, I've been here for a while, so I told them, I said, his games, are tipping, 2 hours, and I said this is reminiscent of Mark Burley when he was here. I mean, it was chop chop. I mean, very efficient work,
Yeah,
and put if not pitching a shutout, certainly close to it. So very impressive work thus far, and again, hopefully, we're going to be able to keep this group intact for a good bit of the season, if not the whole season, but. I think that, it's like anything else. That's sort of the business that we're in. You got to
right.
expect these changes and you want people to be promoted and certainly reach their ultimate goals and destinations. So, I mean, when we won the 2013 Southern League Championship, there was a player by the name of Marcus Simeon, who's obviously gone on to some really great things at the big league level.
Yeah,
And he would ultimately be the Southern League MVP in 2013. But when he was promoted in late July, we received a player that had really been, just crushing single A, Winston-Salem, and his name was Micah Johnson. And he went on to, he never really had that, obviously, that lengthy of a career, but he was quite a prospect at the time and played for multiple major league teams during his short time in the big leagues. But certainly, he was one that not only, carried the baton, but was ultimately the Southern League Championship Series MVP for us when we ended up winning the championship. So it's not the end of the world when those guys are promoted. Sometimes you might even get somebody more hungrier or even more talented
yeah,
along the way. So it's
yeah.
so that's it's a fun time right now.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. You mentioned you've been with the Barons a while. Kind of, I've looked at bio. I've known of you for a while, obviously, but just kind of tell people like how'd you get your start and what roles you've kind of been in over the years with the Barons.
Well, I started with the Barons in 1993 as an intern, and it was an incredible year. It was Terry Francona's first year managing. We ended up winning the Southern League Championship, which was beyond super cool to be part of that journey, and certainly the ending the way it was, and beating the Knoxville Smokies up there at Knoxville that September. The next year, my second year, was Michael Jordan's famous year with the Barons. And so, I jokingly say that, when you get a championship ring and you're part of a championship season your first year and you follow it up with the most unique minor league season of all time with Michael Jordan, it's not difficult to imagine why I continue to work in baseball as long as I am.
Right.
I'm a huge baseball fan, and admittedly I'm a White Sox fan, but those were quite the first 2 years of part of my career path. So it's really been a lot of fun.
Yeah. What's the like how did you work your way up then? Like you started as an intern, like how did the internship come about?
Admittedly, when I was at school at the University of Montevallo, I got an internship with the Birmingham Bulls when they came back for the 92-93 season.
Yeah.
And I told a cousin of mine in New York, I said, I'm hopeful that this could be the spark that gets my sports career going, which parlayed that into an internship with the Barons because there were some Barons employees that were helping out here and there with the Birmingham
Sure.
Bulls operation at the BJCC. And so that's how I got it. And then ultimately was hired full time in 1994 for Jordan season, worked a couple more seasons, went to work for the Detroit Tigers in Detroit, worked at Old Tiger Stadium in 1997. And then I was asked back, even though I wanted to stay in the big leagues and continue that journey. That's the reason why I got into baseball. The opportunity for me to come back here in a management role as assistant general manager, and then also got married at pretty much the same time, was certainly the perfect opportunity to come back to Birmingham. And I've never regretted it. It's been wonderful. And to be part of the organization through so many unique experiences, so many wonderful Rickwood classics, the development, construction, and opening of Regents Field, and what is meant to the Magic City and Birmingham, and just be part of the overall positive vibes is really been something very satisfying and really just fun.
Yeah. What's the two-sided thing here? What's the best part of the job? And I will not word it as the worst part of the job, but what's maybe the most challenging part of the job?
The best part of the job, it changes. It was wonderful seeing our kids grow up at the ballpark. It's
Yeah.
fun, the relationships that you develop with fans, with sponsors, with group leaders, with the teams, the umpires, all those things. I mean, I love the relationships. I love the day to day. I love sort of what the season entails. Now, don't get me wrong, being 53 years old, it gets a little bit, I don't have the young legs like I used to. What's the most challenging, or more, I'll say the most frustrating thing is what we dealt with this past homestand is that, basically once the team gets here from spring training, you know, I'm always focused on the weather. And whether, like, we're out of town right now, as you referenced in Chattanooga, yeah, I mean, I know that, I don't have to worry about tonight's weather for a game or tomorrow or really this weekend. But certainly the 7-day forecast I'm looking at, the day before they show up, and then of course the beginning of next week. So, once the team gets here, it becomes, you're always in baseball getting ready for the next game, series, and ultimately the balance of the season, if not the next season. And so for me, even though the team's on the road, you can't really let your guard down and relax, because right now is such a critical time to continue that process of continuing to put yourself in a position to attract fans, to sell groups, to sponsorships, and educate folks on the season itself. So, the most frustrating thing is, we had a rain out on Friday night, which you never want to have a rain out. It's always takes a year or two off my life, it seems like. And then we rained out game 2 of the doubleheader on Saturday night. So, it's just part of some of the things that you have to deal with, during the season. It's a frustrating part because obviously we'd love to have clear, beautiful weather every day. Yet at the same time, it just goes with the territory.
Yeah. So coming up soon, I'm looking at my notes here just to make sure I get dates right, but June 18th, y'all will host Montgomery. Y'all will be playing as the Black Barons. Montgomery, they'll be playing as the Gray Sox at Rickwood Field at 6 p.m. Got my tickets yesterday.
Great.
And then obviously 2 days later, the tribute to the Negro Leagues with the Major League Baseball being in town for Giants Cardinals. How much are you looking forward to just that kind of stretch that week, having, certainly your team playing there, and then obviously 2 days later having the show in town?
Yeah, I mean, we've certainly been involved in this entire process from the beginning of the potential of these games occurring at Rickwood Field,
Yeah.
and ultimately a lot of the details. Major League Baseball, as well as representatives from the Players Union, both the Cardinals and the Giants, and several other personnel were in town 2 months ago, and for a site visit to make sure that all the upgrades and Rickwood Field were coming along in the most timely fashion. And admittedly, I was there earlier this morning as well. And it seems like now that we've certainly gotten past opening day and settled into what the baseball season is, both at the big league level and at the minor league level, the preparations and seem like the timeline for everything when it comes to Rickwood events is almost at a steamrolling type pace. And it seems like, we have multiple either phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever it is, on a daily basis in regards to preparation. It's beyond exciting. And there's so many things to be excited about. One, the spotlight of Major League Baseball, and the Magic City will basically be the center of the baseball universe for a week in June. And even more so, is really the tribute and the honoring and the legacy of the Negro League legends and the teams that played at Rickwood Field and played across America as well, and their contributions not only to the game of baseball, but more importantly to America and society. I think that, having worked the Rickwood Classic, our first one was back in 1996. And over the years, we've focused on so many different themes and celebrating so many different teams, players, personalities. But the Negro Leagues and the Birmingham Black Barons, specifically the 1948 Black Barons, was always my favorite one to sort of focus and celebrate and honor, because I know it means so much to this community. And so to be able to do that from a national perspective, for people to see it, across the world, Rickwood Field, and certainly recognize Willie Mays and the Negro Leagues and the Black Barons, all those things is going to be beyond special. What we hope for, and to go back to the nemesis, what I just talked about was, hopefully the stars align and the weather's going to be great. We don't have to worry about any kind of radar or any kind of
I,
tarps.
I was going to ask you how soon, like, June 18th, how far in advance will you be watching James Spann and the Weather Channel for that?
I'm always looking. They always say that when you talk to the James Spans of the world, or certainly the weather authorities, they will
Right.
always say, you can't put too much credence in a weather forecast beyond seven
Right.
days. So I'm sort of waiting with bated breath to where we get to, right in the on deck circle for that. But ultimately, regardless of the weather, I think that the way Major League Baseball and all the games that are going to be at Rickwood Field, all the events, whether it be our game or the celebrity softball game
Yeah.
on Wednesday or the Major League game, they're all Major League events. So I think that they're all going to have a different kind of caliber. It's not going to be a Rickwood Classic in like we've had in the past, just
Right.
because this is a Major League game. But it's going to be something that I know that that game is going to be on MLB Network, so broadcasted nationally. And then, of course, the Major League game will be broadcasted nationally on Fox.
Yeah. What is your what's your greatest Rickwood Field story memory?
There's been so many. And, even when we opened Regions Field in 2013, I would tell a variety of folks that are affiliated with the organization that, despite the fact that all the great vibes and what that special season was and how special Regions Field is, that Rickwood Field is my favorite event because I'm a history of baseball kind of guy. It's one of those things where, I appreciate the history as much as anybody and certainly respect and just dig it completely.
Yeah.
Some of the more better, I guess experiences. 1996, the first one was completely magical. We had over 10,000 people there. We dodged a rainstorm, as you would imagine, in typical game day baseball fashion, is that weather will always play a factor in it no matter what. So we were very fortunate in that aspect. I remember it vividly as we played the Memphis Chicks that day. But some of the great personalities, we've tinkered with so many different, sort of recipes to make the Rickwood Classic special for our fans. And, we did different days of the week. We did a Sunday before, we did Thursdays, Wednesdays, Tuesdays, even a Monday. But ultimately, we came to a sweet spot on that Wednesday after Memorial Day. And instead of a giveaway, we had a celebrity. We would invest the money in with the Friends of Rickwood and invest to have a great celebrity. So over the years, some of my fondest memories includes, getting to meet and really work with some of these, great celebrities, whether it be, you know, Harmon Killebrew, Jimmy Pearsall, Gaylord Perry, Fergie Jenkins, Darryl Strawberry, Dwight Gooden, Dale Murphy. And it always takes, to me, it brings it to a different level. And the inside baseball portion of it for me is that, you always talk to, whether it be our team or the umpires or the visiting teams about it leading up to it. You walk through them with the game day itinerary. You try to paint a picture of what Rickwood Field is and how special it is. And they always sort of look at you sort of at a, shifting their head and, at a different angle, sort of not really buying into it. But when the dust settles, when they complete the game and they complete the experience, there are so many players that we've had over the years that just rave about it and say that was their favorite baseball experience that they've ever had. And these guys played in the big leagues and they've played at every level you can imagine and had success. But that was their favorite experience. And because they recognize how special it is to play baseball in the purest sense, a hand operated scoreboard. So, to celebrate, honor, and to meet Negro League legends, as well as other baseball personalities, legendary personalities. So to me, that's the most satisfying thing is always seeing the reaction of teams, managers, umpires, just because I know that when the dust settles, you don't get a lot of reaction a lot of times unless it's negative. uh, but ultimately, with that experience, it's abundantly positive.
Yeah. How you mentioned, I was going to ask you obviously about those years or that year where Michael Jordan, had his season here, and this event is coming, so it hasn't obviously happened yet, but you remember those days with Michael Jordan. Is this maybe the biggest boon for Birmingham baseball since then? Can it be bigger? What do you kind of think there? I know it's kind of apples to oranges, but just the impact on baseball in Birmingham.
Yeah, I mean, when we opened Regions Field in 2013, I told our staff several times, I said it was very reminiscent for me, the feeling, the vibe, and the overall just excitement for Barons baseball as it was in 1994 with Michael Jordan. In 1994 and 2013, you saw an unprecedented level of overall enthusiasm, excitement, amount of volumes of civic pride about the Barons organization. But the difference between 2013 and 1994 was that 1994 was obviously temporary. Michael Jordan was not going to be a Birmingham Baron the rest of all of our existences. Whereas Regions Field, you know, a modern day ballpark, modern day amenities, part of an overall revitalization of what people have described for Birmingham, was going to be something that's permanent. And I'm not from here. I originally grew up in Fairhope, but I've certainly lived in Birmingham long enough to know the mentality, and certainly, whereas folks in Birmingham have seen Atlanta grow to a major international city, and now they've seen Nashville grow to a major national city, and then Memphis have an NBA team, and just regionally, seeing other cities, grow into bigger and better, and seeing maybe some of their desires, come to fruition. Whereas Birmingham, never really, did that. But with Regions Field, what happened in 2013, and the West End Hotel, and certainly the Uptown Entertainment District, you had those three things certainly occur in 2013, which I think created a obviously momentum and an enthusiasm and a desire for downtown development. But I think if you drill to the core, that it gave something more that you could not give to this community. It gave an underlying deep level of confidence that yes, we can. And not only yes, we can, but let's see where we go. So when you ask about what do I think is going to be the biggest thing since Michael Jordan, I think Regions Field was, because this is permanent, to see all the residential, business, retail developments all around, not only within the shadows of the ballpark, but all across the metropolitan community, is staggering. And it's really a fun time. And despite the fact that I loved all my 18 or whatever, how many years I worked at the Hoover Met, loved every minute of it. Working downtown in Regions Field in an urban environment is super cool, especially across from such a great, city park like Railroad Park.
Yeah, and that's going to be like, I don't know, super cool to me too when June gets here, with the Southern League Museum essentially right there. That's a place, funny story. I was in a graduate level class years ago, and we had to pick, I don't remember the exact assignment, but we had to go to several places in Birmingham and do some sort of report or coverage or whatever. And naturally, spot one on my list was that museum. And so I went and hung out there for I don't know how long. I mean, and I don't remember that. I think I went on maybe a Sunday or something like that. Wasn't during the Barron season. And I don't know how long I spent there, but it was hard for me to leave because, like you, I'm a baseball guy, obviously, but I'm also a history guy, and that can be history of anything. Big local history guy, big regional history guy, and I could stay in there all day. And I'm looking forward to seeing, people that will visit that place as well as part of, I know the games at Rickwood, but that is seems like it's going to be a very important place in June as well.
It is, and I think overall, and that's what we have a homestand, that completes on, I guess technically it would be the 16th on that Sunday, which would be Father's
Okay.
Day. And what I've told our staff is that, I look at that week just because of us, Birmingham being the center of the baseball universe and so many visitors coming in town, is that essentially, Monday through Thursday, is almost an extension of our homestand because we want to be open to provide tours, to allow people to sort of, if they're baseball junkies and they want to come here and they want to see Rickwood Field and the Negro Sailing Museum and Regents Field and sort of get their fill and you get the best taste of the modern day ballpark, the old ballpark, all those type things, and even maybe even venture to the Hoover Met. We want to be open to it, and we
Yeah.
want to be accessible, and despite the fact that you get that deep in the season, I think that everybody you take some time to recover. We sort of need to keep it going because we want to make sure that all the visitors that are coming in town to Birmingham that week are welcome and they have the best possible experience. And if they want to come visit Regents Field and even buy a Michael Jordan jersey to get their fill, we're open to it.
Yeah. I mean, you're obviously, like you said, you're obviously a baseball history guy and you run in baseball circles, but do you think like this is a question I've liked over the last year to ask people like I mean, I knew very general base level history of Rickwood Field. Not not too weedy, knew the kind of the highlights. Do you think people across the country know that it's the oldest ballpark in America? Do you think they know just how historic that field is?
I think the casual baseball fan probably not. Some of the history, folks who probably take a deeper dive into the history probably do. When we started the Rickwood Classic in 1996, it really started to gain momentum and it started to really gain a reputation. And I think it was the late 90s, if not the early 2000s, Jim Capel, the late writer for ESPN, wrote an article, and in the article wrote 15 must attend baseball events before you die, which is a
Yeah,
super cool article. And there were two events from Alabama on that list, one being the Iron Bowl, as you would imagine, and the
yeah.
other was the Rickwood Classic,
Wow.
which is says something about the way the reputation was building at that time, and to all of a
Yeah,
sudden reach almost a pinnacle now that Major League Baseball, in the eyes of the baseball world, both from a minor league perspective as well as from a major league perspective, are going to be on Birmingham in June. I think all of it does is just prove it to be, obviously justifiable in every sense, and it's just a very exciting thing. So I think that I would that with the Field of Dreams in Iowa, that probably raised the bar and their notoriety even more so, and made it more of a just an absolute must destination for a lot of baseball fans. I think that that'll probably raise the bar in so many ways with Rickwood Field and Birmingham being on the map. So I think that's very satisfying. And as we continue the journey down the road, moving forward in 2025 and years beyond with the Rickwood Classic, I'm hopeful that that we continue to maintain that same level of enthusiasm and attendance and just just a really fun, cool event for everybody.
yeah. Well, and like I can't imagine like I didn't end up playing high school baseball. I mean, I played baseball all my life, but I didn't play officially on a high school team. But like my dad played at Banks, so when he was playing at Banks, he got to have some games at Rickwood, and I can't imagine like what I would feel like if I got to play on that field, especially as a high school kid, knowing that Willie Mays was out here, that I forget the number of Hall of Fame, guys in Cooperstown that have played on that field. They've told me the number. I forget, hundred and something guys that are in Cooperstown that have played there, and you could play there as a high school kid or as a travel ball kid. You could play there if you're on the Savannah Bananas. Like I don't know, something. It's unique in its history, obviously, because it stands alone. It's the oldest, but just how versatile it's been. That it's not just been for pro games. It's not just been for the Barons. That it's kind of been for everybody. And I think there's such a deep rooted culture in that to me.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously baseball is a sport from a history standpoint that has, deep history, that has a deep appreciation for history and everything about it. Not just the players and the teams, but the ballparks. And, for Rickwood Field, the same architect who designed Forbes Field in Pittsburgh, the cathedrals of baseball, many of them have been lost in recent years. Comiskey Park, the original Yankee Stadium, Tiger Stadium, and obviously the ones that remain, still most prominent, Wrigley Field and Fenway Park. And so to be able to have, this type of cathedral that housed, not only, minor league teams, major league teams when they were traveling en route from spring training, sort of barnstorming games, but also the Negro League teams, to have sort of this kind of historic ballpark still standing, and able to accommodate professional baseball with their strict guidelines and rules and certainly requirements when it comes to playing a game is quite something. So I think that you have the best of all possible worlds, and to be able to for the team and for our players to play there. I know that they are super excited about it, and to be able to be on national TV even more so. I know that it's going to be just a incredible experience.
Yeah, I know yesterday, I had my email saved with the link to get into that 10 a.m. Alabama resident, you know. Not the lottery for the MLB game. I'm still awaiting that, but even just for the Barons versus Montgomery, I was sitting there, I was like, it was like 9:57, and I'm sitting there refreshing because sometimes, my clock doesn't necessarily match the clock of whoever's, opening those internet gates. So I was sitting there refresh. And then as soon as I get in, I'm like, wherever I can get, I was going in for 3 tickets and I was just like, I'm going to get them as quick as I can because I know they're going to go. So it seemed like yesterday was a very, I don't know how all that turned out for the Alabama residents pre-sale or whatever, but it seemed like there were a lot of people, at least that I know, that were doing the same thing as me.
Yeah, it's and that's the way. I mean, obviously, the Major League Baseball game is the headline act, but it's also almost. I know there's a lottery, but it's going to be very difficult to satisfy uh, even a small fraction of the folks that want to
Yeah,
attend. But when the dust settles, the minor league game is going to provide a great opportunity for fans to experience Rickwood Field, that entire experience, just on a minor league level. And there's no doubt that in short order, I'm not sure, because again, Major League Baseball is handling all operations and especially the ticket operations. I imagine in short order that our minor league game will be sold out as well.
I'm sure. Let's just say by the time this comes out, let's say that is sold out. It might already be, but just games at regions and that kind of thing. How should people go about getting tickets to games to see the Barons this year?
We've still got some great promotions. I mean, obviously, we have our weekly promotions, the Thursdays of the world, the Taco Tuesdays, the Wet Nose Wednesdays, and Friday fireworks. We got, a variety of, we got a bobblehead promotion, we got a Hawaiian shirt giveaway, and we got all kinds of other giveaways and entertainers. And we even dipping our toe into the NIL waters this year with Jalen Milrose going to be here in May, the Alabama quarterback.
Yeah.
So, for all information, whether it be tickets, game day times, promotions, whatever it is, barons.com is one-stop shopping, whether it be tickets, merchandise, or just, information on Regions Field and on the Barron season.
So is he coming to throw out like a first pitch, sign autographs? What's he doing?
Well, he has an exclusive autograph agreement with another company, but he is going to be here. He'll throw out a first pitch. He'll be taking pictures with fans for a certain amount of time. So he's certainly got to be accessible. So
Yeah.
we've thought about doing something creative, like maybe his even he's going to be here on a Saturday in May. Trying to do something creative with 4th and 31, but I don't know where we're going to go with
Yeah.
that. So.
4th and 31. Let's see. How far is it to straightaway center at Regions? What is it? It's not quite 431.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know what it was at Rickwood back when the original fence, it was like 478 or something. I don't know. It was I don't know. I'll try to think on that. I love just kind of figuring that kind of stuff out. But that's cool. Now he can zing a baseball too. So
I'm sure he can.
uh he'll be trying to pop that glove, I know. One last thing. You mentioned all the parks, just across the country that aren't here anymore. I imagine you've been to most, if not all. If there's a park you haven't been to that's on the bucket list, what is it?
The number one ballpark I would want to go to, and I usually go on a baseball trip most summers with my son. Last year we went to PNC Park, which I'll just say it was as advertised. Phenomenal
Yeah,
city, phenomenal ballpark.
yeah,
Um, for me, I would probably say the number one ballpark, just because they're leaving, would be, Oakland, even though if they weren't leaving, that wouldn't be the one. But if there was one ballpark that I would want to go to that I haven't been to, I probably have to go Seattle.
okay,
I probably
okay,
would. Just,
yeah,
it always, when it was Safeco, it seemed like it was such a great ballpark. But there's
yeah,
still a lot of ones that I'd love to attend that I haven't been to.
yeah, yeah. PNC is number one on my list just because I've got a buddy who is he lives in Tennessee, but he's a big Texas Rangers fan. He's from Texas, and so he was in heaven 6 months ago with them getting that World Series. But I don't know if he's got I don't know, maybe it's in-laws or something like that that are from the Pittsburgh area. And so he went up for a game at PNC and he said just it was, I don't want to say incomparable, but it might have topped his list. Just game day experience and the views obviously that you see in pictures and stuff like that. So that one I think would maybe be number one on my list at this point.
It's worthy. It's worthy, and it's not a, it's not I mean, it's not an expensive trip. I mean, my two favorite modern day ballparks that I've been to, San Francisco, which I guess is
Mm,
Oracle Park now. It was
Oracle.
Pac Bell Park when we went, and then PNC. Both are phenomenal ballparks.
Wow. Well, cool. Well, cool. I will say this. I'm a Braves fan, but I miss Turner Field. I don't know why. Like Truist is great. The Battery, great.
Agree.
But something I don't know what it is. Something about it. I don't know if it's the parking or the traffic. I don't know. Nostalgia probably. I miss Turner Field. It wasn't that old, but I don't know. I miss Turner Field, and the Braves would do well to just ban me because they can be the greatest team in baseball. If I come, they're losing. We we took our son to his very first MLB game this month, and took him to see the Mets, who, as a Braves fan, not a big fan of. And we get there, and I'm like, this is gonna be great. It's his first game right off the bat. It was like 1 or 3 to nothing after the first inning. Braves lose 16-4
I
to the
remember.
Mets,
Yeah.
and that was his first game.
Oh
So
my
it's
goodness.
like he's four, so he's gotten to see nothing but NLCS appearances. Obviously, the 21 World Series. He's spoiled in that regard as a young Braves fan. But we go to a game, 16-4 lost to the New York Mets.
Hmm.
So I guess you got to take the good with the bad.
That's right. That's right. And it's a long season. And I know that you want to see him win when you get there, but at the same time, I mean, you know, I don't know. Hopefully better results next time.
Yeah, we will remember, just the trip and him getting to pick out some stuff from Braves retail and the food and all of the game day stuff and the on-field stuff. We'll not remember much about that.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I appreciate you doing this, Jonathan, and hopefully I will see you guys out of the game very soon.
Thank you, Gary. I really appreciate it. Enjoyed it, and definitely look forward to seeing you here at Regents Field soon.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you too.